Hi, my name is Wesley. I will be presenting on the family stress theory for this family theory presentation. This is for the course Nursing 714. This theory was originally developed by Hill in 1949 and expanded on by McCubbin and Patterson in 1983. These theories were inspired by the stressors on families caused by family separations from World War II and the Vietnam War, respectively. Hill developed the ABCX model, and McCubbin and Patterson expanded to it, creating the double ABCX model. The double ABCX model will be the model I will be focusing on. I want to start off by defining stress. Stress can be defined as an emotional or physical tension in response to a stimulus or situation, including hardship, adversity, and affliction. The ABCX model consists of multiple components. The A stands for the initial stressor event, the B stands for existing resources, which may include family, community, church, and friends. These resources either keep a family from crisis or, by their absence, keep the family out of crisis. The C stands for the perception of A, the initial stressor. X is the crisis. In this theory, A, B, and C interact with each other, ultimately producing X, the crisis. The double ABCX model has an additional component, the post-crisis variables. These variables are represented by AA, BB, and CC. AA is the pileup and represents the hardships of the initial stressor that increase and persist over time. They can end up becoming chronic strains. Examples include financial burden and families going from 2 parents to 1 parent. BB represents existing resources during the pre-crisis and the new resources following the crisis. Examples of new resources include new educational opportunities, self-sufficiency, and new communities. CC is the perception of X plus AA plus BB, which is the perception of the crisis, pileup, and existing and new resources. If CC is positive, then the family is able to cope with the stress. For example, wives that lost their husband in war can see it as a new challenge and an opportunity to grow moving forward. Adaptation is the final product of this model and is intended to have long-term consequences. If it is positive, it is known as bond adaptation. If it is negative, it is known as maladaptation. There aren't any clear definitions of family, environment, health, and nursing within the theory, but I will conceptualize them using the key concepts of the theory. Family is a collection of members that share worldviews that determine how they respond and interact with the social world. So when a stressor occurs in a family, the family's response and perception of that stressor will depend on their worldview. All families are faced with unique problems, and all families experience stress as a result of change. Stress, whether it is good or bad, disrupts a family's steady state. Also, life transitions, which are changes, are inevitable. A family's environment can be a source of stress. Examples include family members, social circumstances, medical services, culture, economics, genetics, and the time period and history the family is living in. Health-wise, stress was first conceived as a health-related issue in the 17th century by Hooke, and is now acknowledged to cause changes in physiological functioning. Health-wise, if stress is prolonged, it can lead to health problems for family members such as hypertension, heart disease, diabetes, depression, and obesity. Nursing-wise, stress is an amendable factor for nurses. Nurses can and should assess family stress and can utilize and initiate interventions to manage family stress. I will talk more about this on how family stress theory applies to family nursing practice. The double ABCX model has been used in various healthcare settings, such as patients recovering from heart surgery, families dealing with alcoholics, and the family adaptation to AIDS. Denise Robinson, a FNP, applied this theory to nursing family care. Robinson places a heavy emphasis on assessment. She says that family stress should be assessed by the FNPs, and the components of the ABCX model are guidelines on how to assess your patients. Questionnaires and interviews are commonly used to assess stressors, resources, and perception of the stressor. When assessing stressors, F&P should assess life changes, hardships, strains on family, the origin, the degree and severity of the stressor, and the length of time needed to solve the stressor. When assessing resources, the F&P should assess the family's personal resources, the family system, and social support. The resources are the means to meet the demands of the stressor and resist crisis. Perception of the family to the stressor and the family's coping also need to be assessed. Lastly, the F&P needs to assess if the family has adapted positively or negatively to the crisis. If the adaptation was maladaptive, then F&P should offer family services such as counseling to help a family crisis from progressing to severe or chronic dysfunction. Robinson offers multiple screening tools for providers to use in assessing the components of the family stress theory. Some of them are listed here. The FNP can use this model as a framework to guide his or her role in collecting data and guiding interventions. The FNP should understand that the successful handling of a crisis leads to positive adaptation, growth, and an overall healthier family lifestyle. FNP should assess whether family behaviors are bonadaptive or maladaptive, and then develop a plan in collaboration to help manage the stress. I will now discuss two research projects that have been guided by the family stress theory. The first study analyzed the parental stress of parents caring for a child with intellectual disability, or ID, using the double ABCX model. The goal of the study was to predict the adaptation of fathers and mothers caring for a child with ID. The researchers compiled a questionnaire composed of various surveys and scales that yielded proven and valid results and targeted specific components of the double ABCX model. The questions measured parental stress, family demands and pile-up, family resources and adaptive resources, and family perception and meaning. The questionnaire consisted of questions compiled from many sources. For example, when assessing family pile-up, the survey used questions from the questionnaire on resources and stress and the adaptive skills scale. Listed on the slide are all the scales and surveys included in the entire questionnaire. As you can see, this questionnaire was quite long. The results showed the differences and similarities of how fathers and mothers perceived stress and coped with the situation. Fathers found the most challenging aspect of caring for a child with ID was the lack of perceived social acceptance. Mothers, on the other hand, found the challenging behavior of the child to be the most challenging aspect. Spousal support was also important for family adaptation for both parents, and the most important predictor of parental stress was the negative perception of the situation. The study provides guidance to providers caring for families with a child with ID. With the use of the double ABCX model, providers gain a further outlook into how to assess for family stress through different questionnaires and also which aspects to key in on, such as negative perceptions by parents, which is highlighted and supported by the research in this article. The second research study analyzed the experiences of family members taking care of stroke survivors. Stroke is a common cause of disability that leads to neurological dysfunction, motor, sensory, and visual deficits, and limitations in performing activities of daily living. Stroke leaves patients dependent on their families. The study performed a meta-synthesis of 18 studies from 1990 to 2013 and extracted findings and categorized them under the main components of the double ABCX model: stressor, resources, perception, coping, and adaptation. The findings suggest that family members caring for a member with deficits from a stroke have to practically and cognitively keep a balance in caring for the stroke member in their own lives. Positive adaptation of the crisis by family members was associated with a high level of social support and meditation on the effects of stress on self and the family. The study's use of the double ABCX model led it to find how a family may positively adapt to taking care of a family member that suffered a stroke. This is helpful for providers assessing family stress on families dealing with this problem or a similar situation. Providers should assess a family's level of social support and their perception of the effects of stress on self and the whole family caused by the new event in order to guide the family to positively adapt. In conclusion, the family stress theory and the double ABCX model can provide valuable information for family, nurse practitioners, and healthcare providers in guiding and supporting families through a crisis caused by a stressor, the resources, and the perception of the event. Through analyzing how the theory was utilized in these two research studies has given me a better understanding of how to practically use the theory. These studies are very valuable in that they provide a solid foundation of key and important factors for what a provider should focus their assessment on when assessing family stress. I will apply this theory to the family that I will assess in my family assessment assignment because stress exists in all families. As a nurse, I will be able to assess various factors based off of the double ABCX model and a family's adaptation of whether I need to plan interventions to help them manage their stress.